said that my last album review would be brief. 9 minutes really isn't brief. I'm going to aim to rectify that with this album review, which is going to be for the new Whitechapel record, which is self-titled. It's their self-titled 4th release now. Whitechapel is a band that is in the deathcore realm, and as indication and history has shown many of you, whenever it comes to deathcore, I'm pretty much on the fringe, but leaning more towards dislike than like. So you might be wondering, why am I covering this album? Well, it's a big release. I mean, it's an important release for this year, and I think the best way to really get my palate wet and to maybe ever, turn the corner on the deathcore genre is to just keep listening to it and keep giving it a chance. Now, this is an album that was produced by Mark Lewis. Mark Lewis is a famed producer, a mix man, and a master worker that has done work with a lot of bands in the metalcore genre, including All That Remains, and has also worked with Whitechapel once before on the EP that followed this one. But one of the big names that really kind of stands out to me, he was the producer for Deicide's To Hell With God, and I really enjoyed that album last year. It definitely had rich production. It really was able to capture the atmosphere very, very well, and it was reflected very well on the album itself sonically, so I give him a lot of props for that. Now, we're going to revert back to Whitechapel, obviously, because that's what this review is about. It's not about Deicide or Mark Lewis. And this is a 37-minute long album, 37 and a half minutes, really, if you want to be technical with it. And it is your run-of-the-mill deathcore, I'm not going to lie. This is an album that really, I guess, is the ideal way to say it is that it is the deathcore theme. It is the deathcore anthem. It is everything that deathcore is about, only this is the harder edge of deathcore. This is deathcore with a more prominent focus on the death part. You're still going to have your ridiculously down-tuned bass and your ridiculously down-tuned guitars. You're still going to have breakdowns. You're still going to have all the different things that make deathcore just so delicious to all the little children. However, whenever I listen to this record, it's like a lot of bands in this genre. I can't really get behind it. I can't get very stimulated by it because it really feels very much like a war-torn, battle-hardened, elderly individual, because they have seen literally everything, and they have seen it all before because they've lived it all before, and it seems like it's a genre that's a little bit more worse for wear. This is a genre that needs a little bit of a shot of adrenaline or a stimulus check or something like any sort of metaphor that you might be able to think about, because this is becoming a very war-torn and tattered idea that is now being flaunted for a couple of years now, and the sound that's around it is becoming just as worn as the term deathcore itself. It's starting to become more of a term that's going to cause a polarizing audience instead of one that's kind of being viewed with some excitement. It's kind of like what metalcore was like near the midway to the latter portions, especially the latter portions of the 2000s, where all the bands were all signed up by labels, and they were releasing albums, and there was a huge spike for metalcore, but eventually the numbers started to thin, and with such a wealth of bands being signed, not everybody was really making bank, so to speak. It wasn't like everybody was doing well. There were still only the choice innovators that really created the genre that were doing the best, and the others were kind of just coming along, and some of them were getting picked up along the way. Same thing happened with thrash metal in the latter part of the 1980s. This is a cyclical thing, and deathcore is unfortunately another little group that is in on the cycle. And I'm saying that not because I'm an asshole. I'm saying that because just look around you, the deathcore fans, it's true. You are part of a wavering metal trend, and it's a metal trend that is starting to reach the latter part of its lifespan. Whenever I listen to this album, I'm not really stimulated a lot by it. Everything is really the deathcore standard, and there are every so often a period that I see something or hear something that's a little bit different, maybe a solo that sparks my interest, maybe a little bit of a progression in a song that may cause me a little bit more of a feeling, where it doesn't feel as recycled as I've heard it, so many times before, but I was really kind of underwhelmed by this, and Whitechapel had such an impressive debut, in my opinion, that it's it's kind of disappointing for me. And so this is going to be just a review where I have to say it's kind of war-torn, battle-hardened, but at the same time, it's nearing it's over the hump. It's over the age of 50 in its lifespan. So unfortunately, this is an album that I just can't really get behind, and I have talked with a couple of fans ever since the album's release, and there is a lot of shared opinion there. Maybe yours is different. I'd like to hear why you like this, or why you hate it down in the comment box. But for me, it's just about a 6 out of 10. It's a 3-star album, you know, where, you know, the production is top-notch, the music is not crap. I mean, it's not crap music, don't get me wrong. It's just that it is something that I've heard a number of times before, and it was not something that stimulated me that much beforehand, so it's very difficult for me to get behind it now. You might ask, why am I reviewing it if I already kind of had a preconceived notion? It's because you always have to give stuff a try, man. I mean, that's the key point. My idea of reviewing something, even though I've heard it before, and even if it's kind of like this, where I give it kind of the similar review that I would, is basically my way of saying, regardless of your preconceived notions of something, you should still go out there on a limb and give it a shot, because music is music. You might find something in there that stimulates you, but it doesn't happen all the time. It didn't happen with me, with this band, with this album, but it might happen with the next band and the next album, or with these guys with their next album. You never know. So yeah, it's 6 out of 10, very run-of-the-mill. Periods of evolution here and there, but for the most part, meh. Like I said, I want to hear your opinion on this record. Did it blow you away? Was it something that you were disappointed about? Could you care less? Just let me know. And I will talk to you guys with the next review later on.